Hello everyone, good evening. Welcome to the end of the second week of an introvert streaming. We haven't done too bad, huh? So tonight in tonight's Masterworks, we had a request, so we're going to see a little Sir Edwin Henry Landseer, English 1802 to 1873. Fair warning, it seems like the cameras are going in and out a little bit, but I should still be able to share the screen. So, without further ado, let us get going. If you're new here, my name is Jason Meyer of Meyer Studio, and for the month of December 2020, we're all staying at home, so we're going live 3 days a week. Excuse me, let me try that again. We're going live 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're going to do student feedback. At 1:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we'll come in the studio, and like this afternoon, I worked on this painting behind me. Sometimes I work on paintings, sometimes I mix, sometimes I search for compositions, but you're in the studio seeing what I do. Then in the evenings, right here on this show, we're going to look at some masterworks, some artists who really knew what they were doing, and see how they're accomplishing the things we are talking about. All right, so let's get some screen sharing going on here. And so I didn't have a lot of time to prepare, so we'll see how I did. One of the things I was able to find was a series of works, starting with this loose sketch, and then we've got some drawings and some little mass studies, which are very similar to what we're doing and what we've been talking about in class. So I grabbed those, and then we'll finish with some more finished work. Okay, so there's our little thing. So not much to say about this other than you see he's rough. He's laying down the dog. He's seeing where's the shadow going to be. But big straights, working big to small, big to small. And then here you can see he's worked it out a little bit more. I mean, a different drawing, obviously. But using our method with toned paper, he's added a little bit of a reddish, brownish pencil in there too. But essentially the same thing we're doing. And do you guys see how effective, if there's very little but clean white? Look at boom, boom, boom. And the same with the dark. See how the dark right around, and then here he's falling off. It's almost like the dog can read, huh? Hey, what do you got in your hand? Is that new papers? Wait, what? Something's going on. And then here's a little more refined drawing where he's worked some of the problems out. But hopefully, for those of you who've been with me, you can see, look, we've got our tone of the paper, and then gray, a little gray surrounding the tone of the paper, and then it goes a little darker, right? Darker with the dog. And then it's the tone of the paper again, gray. So it's that light, dark pattern is all it is. And in this case, it's in the shape of the dogs. I'm going to assume they're hunting dogs with those birds and the rifle. I haven't been a while since I've been hunting. Is that pheasant, quail, duck? I don't know. Or turkey. I'm sure anybody that knows their birds know what it is. And then I found these and I got very excited. Just the other day, and I forget where it was. I don't know if it was on a YouTube or in our class or what. We were talking about putting something behind something else. Right? Look at how kind of roughly and quickly this is done, but still there's a dominant deer and then there's supporting role deer. Effective, and it can happen fast. Right? I believe I painted two spheres, one behind the other, very quickly, digitally, illustrating this exact point right here. Right? But even though this is pretty simple. In fact, look how dynamic it is. Right? You can get a lot done this way so that when you come to the painting, you're really prepared and ready to go. All right, how you guys doing tonight? You keeping up? All right, now we're coming to our first study. Let's see, do we have any? All right, this is just a small study. But again, notice how the clean white really tells the story, but is this weaker? Yeah. And weaker than? Yeah. Is it lighter than the dark? Yeah. Is it darker than the light? Yeah. Do you guys see how many simple pieces there are here? Now he does have some form here. He's indicated it, right? It hasn't messed up the value overall, but you see that's a little lighter, grayer, cooler, and then we wrap around to a little darker. Got some openness here. Set some openness there. No skin off his back. Did you notice the edges here, Susan? How he indicated, I'm going to call it hair. I guess it's not fur. Is it fur or hair? I guess it depends on what kind of dog it is. This looks like hair to me, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Not everywhere, but a little bit goes a long way. Look, there's not much indicated right through here, except, you know, the softness of the edges. A little will go a long way. So I hope you guys can see that. See how effective that separates from the background? We're just talking about this. And then, wow. What the what? Wow. And I was excited when I found this. One, it's the shapes. Look how dynamic, and I mean, that's powerful. All right, are you going to throw pebbles at that little kitty cat? Probably not. Probably not. You're going to chase him off with a broom? Shoo, shoo, shoo. I don't think I would. So what's happening here? Well, we've been talking a little bit about color. In here, it would be our orange and our yellow. And then the other element as a non-color, this time the gray-blue. And notice how when this turns around, it goes a little bit, you can pick up that gray-blue in there, but then the shadow stands apart from it. So you can see how he's really used that to turn this form. And then notice how he let the dark gather before we've got the most details. Right, and again, this is a little sketch. Doesn't look like a finished work. It looks like a study. But powerful, powerful, powerful. Still, everything we've been talking about. Right, this is bigger and whiter and brighter, but look, we've got white here, we've got black there, we've got red or pink, whatever you want to call it, with a tooth, and black, and some brown, and ugh. And again, there's psychological weights in faces and in eyes, right? In humans, we want to see what they want to say to us. My camera's frozen again, but it looks like everything else is still working, so let's see. Let's just get rid of that still shot of me. There we go. All right. Any questions? But we were talking about, and with Susan, with the dogs in the circle, we were talking about the background. And this is an example here. I don't know if it would work perfectly with yours, but that darker, richer to lighter gray, or oops, there it is. That darker, richer to lighter, grayer, right? He's gone from left to right, and you're going to go from bottom to top. But what a fun painting. What a fun painting. Okay, and then we'll finish with, this is one of two quote unquote finished paintings he did. Now he's done a lot more than 2 finished paintings, but that we're going to look at on our program tonight. So like always, I'd like to encourage you just to take it in for a second. All right, it looks like Susan's a fan. All right. So what do we see in here? What do we see? Do you see the value? Is there a certain value pattern that's followed in here? Is there a color scheme? Can you see the non-color working with the color? So this isn't too much unlike some of the ones we had going on today. Are we coming across to kind of settle on that? Notice how this chain reinforces this as well as the lightest light coming across. Some of these verticals then help to stop that movement. And of course we have basically, we can call it red or orange, warm, yellow, whatever we want to call it, against the green, the cool green. All right, well I should have done this before, but I didn't, so let's do it now. It's an easier time spotting those values and how it just kind of builds until we settle on the little pup over there. Right, you notice how the little pup's eyes are just a bit darker. His nose is just a bit darker, and then it's surrounded by a lighter value than the big pup. A quiet Friday night. Oh man. You are welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. So we're just looking at some animal paintings. Let's flip this back up. And let's see, who are we looking at here? We are looking at Sir Edwin Henry Landseer. I believe he's best known from some sculptures that he did. All right, one last look at these before we go on to another painting. But there's no difference in anything that we've been doing or talking about except the level of refinement. All right, notice how you don't really look up here. You don't really notice. You don't really look, right? There's nothingness. We're definitely not at what's in here. Right? We want to know the state of this wood. What kind of house are these guys living in? They're okay. What's the chain for? It doesn't look like it's being used right now, so these guys must be pretty trustworthy. Right? You see that old wood's been chipped right there. Some rust spots from the nails. Good stuff. Good stuff. No, I really wish I could blow this up. I can't, but. So some of the subtle work around here, like how do we focus on this guy's eye? You see a little non-color there? Well, we've got dark, and then he's got light, and then what's around that? Notice how those ears go from light to, and then that sets up well against those. Right, and then on this side, a little richer. So of course you're going to be looking right there, but just that's a subtle little change right there. And look how, in order to get some definition here, he let the stomach that's actually turning away from the light go have some lighter hair there. So he's changed the color of the hair for that spot because he wanted that weight, that note. I imagine what was happening, not too unlike the dog Susan, that this wasn't just showing up. I can imagine if this, or even a little darker here, maybe something like that was here, then this whole paw is going to disappear. And notice, since this is closer to us, it's darker, richer. And then the lighter, grayer is behind. Very, very, very effective. Very effective. This was bothering me. This was really bothering me. I thought it was a mistake. And I finally realized it's a little guy's tongue sticking out. It's a little guy's tongue sticking out. So. I mean, talk about a dog portrait. Woof. Woof. Wow. I'm glad I'm not competing with that guy. Okay. And then you want to go full tilt, huh? You know somebody on the board of directors of the museum? You think you got your toe in the door at the Met? All right. Well, it's going to take a little more than a study of the dog, I think. What do you see? Do you see any of the principles we've been talking about? I think before I say anything, let's just have a look at the values. Notice how that fog in the background is the lightest thing, and how different it is from the background on the back. Right? So this is so you're going to look past them towards that light. This little piece of grass right here is really about the same size as a mountaintop, isn't it? Oof. And if you really want to get down to it, this piece of grass is bigger than the mountaintop. So these things that we're talking about are very subtle in some of these things, but they're all here. And then what I like to do is, since this is the lightest light, where does that go and how does it fall off, and where exactly does it change? See how the values of the legs are getting closer to the value of the background? So what does that do? It basically releases you up to a bigger change. So that dark helps give him weight, and then we're always talking form, right? So you see the form, and then the form, right? The form. This guy doesn't look hungry, does he? And again, all these mountains back here, look at all the, where do you find all the details of those mountains? Do you find them right here? No. There's nothing happening right here, so that this wins 100% of the time. And even though this is a lighter value, there's nothing happening back there either. Nothing for your eye to rest on. Okay, one last thing before we head back to color. Does this material, this grass, feel different than the material of his fur, of his hair? Does that feel different than his horns, his bucks, his rack, the pointy things on top of his head? And does that feel different than the rock? And do all those feel different than the cloud? How? How did he get those to feel like they're different materials? Right? Are you trying to get that in your painting? Where the different materials feel different. Well, just something to think about. Just something to think about. I don't know. So in this one, he's almost used the darks as much or even more than the lights to really say forward, hasn't he? All right, some of the lighter lights are a little sharper on him, but the background's got some of that fog and cloud that gets relatively light too. It's the dark. It's the dark that distinguishes it. How does the color, the orange, yellow, red, how is that repeated in those background mountains? It's the same colors, right? Just weakened or sent towards infinity, influenced by that. By the way, the infinity color, do you see how he's used that to turn? It doesn't go all, boom, right? So he's used that to blanch it out. Okay, guys, any last minute questions on this? And I think I'll be wrapping it up for the week. We'll give this camera one more try. And we'll see if I'm able to say good night. So as always, if you like what you saw, please make sure to like and subscribe. So I appreciate you being here. We'll be back Sunday night on Facebook for Sketchbug Live, and then Monday morning here for Jumpstart, some morning feedback, student feedback, and we'll do it again next week. So thanks so much for the recommendation, Susan. Just in time, because we're already freezing up again. So we'll say good night, and you guys have a good weekend. Bye-bye, everybody.